Hello, everyone. I'm going to be in Luke 8, verses 5 through 15 today. I hope it doesn't go too long. It's a pretty good bit of things, but I'm going to read Luke 8, 5 through 15. And it says, A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down. And the fowls of the air devoured it. And some sprang upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away, because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it. And others fell on good ground, and sprang up and bare fruit 100-fold. And when he had said these things, he cried, He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. And his disciples asked him, What might this parable be? And he said, Unto you is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God, but to others in parables, that seeing they might not see, and hearing they might not understand. Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of God. Those by the wayside are they that hear, and then cometh the devil and taketh away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. They on the rock are they which, when they hear, receive the word with joy, and have no root, which for a while believe, and in time of temptation fall away. And that which fell among thorns are they which, when they had heard, go forth and are choked with cares and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring forth no fruit to perfection. But they that are on good ground are they, but that on the good ground are they which in an honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it, and bring forth fruit with patience. Now we could speak about all of that, and but I want to concentrate mainly today on the rocky ground, if I can. The same sun it melts wax, it hardens the clay. So it depends upon the material. What ground are you? That's what I want to ask you today. Are you the softened? Or are you the hardened? Sometimes what you're preaching and what people think that they're hearing while you're preaching is actually two different things. It's like employees and employers. The employers have a vision for the company, and they think they're communicating to the employees a certain thing to do, when in fact the employees think that they're supposed to be doing something entirely different. I supervised 13 men one time, and what I would tell them to do and what they heard and thought that they were supposed to be doing was two different things. I wanted them to please the customer. They thought that something else was more important, but to me that was the top thing. An employee is just trying to do enough sometimes not to get fired, and just as little as they can, the minimum. And employers are trying to pay them just as little as they can, just enough to keep them from quitting. So you have like a stalemate. And then there's a difference too in married people. A difference in what you say and what they hear. You might need to have a sound check. Testing. Are you hearing me? Before you, maybe when we're preaching, we might ought to have a sound check first. I don't know. Just a thought. And I remember the commercial says, "Can you hear me now?" So sometimes they're listening to the sound of it, but they're not really grasping the words. He that hath an ear, let him hear. I think some people must think that it says, He that hath a mouth, let him talk. You don't learn anything much by talking. You learn a whole lot by hearing. And but he that hath an ear indicates that some people don't have an ear to hear. They have an ear, but they don't have an ear to hear. It's like telling a joke. Some people will get it, and some it would just go over their head. And unto you is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom. And there are mysteries in the kingdom if you can hear and get God to help you. If you can just hear the Word of God's trying to tell you something if you can just hear what the Spirit is saying. Cultivation and patience are the key when you've got greatness inside of you. And everybody has got a seed of greatness in them. We just need something to bring it out, pull it out. The uncircumcised ear can't hear the Word. You know, it's too much noise and junk in the ear that distracts you from hearing. You got to clean it out. I remember I was taking some hyperbaric oxygen treatments because of wounds, open wounds, and it stopped my ear up because you was in a chamber. You was it simulated going 33 feet underwater, a lot of pressure, and my ear stopped up. My right ear, and I couldn't hardly hear anything. So you had to. It finally cleared out. Are you just along for the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes? The good times? Are you here for the duration? Anybody can wear the uniform, but when the shots ring out, then do your count. Don't do your count during the good time. Wait until the bad times cull some people out, and then count and see who you got with you. You know, there may be, when the words come, and try to listen as good as you can. There may be somebody sitting right beside you that don't get it. They're too busy playing with a baby or flipping through their phone or daydreaming about tomorrow or even yesterday. The secret of the Lord was for them that fear him. If you're a great sower, you have to sow everywhere and expecting to reap somewhere. Have you ever been in church and some were blessed and then the person right beside them didn't get anything out of it? That's just the way it is. You're in a meeting, the preacher preaches something, your whole life has been changed, tears running down your face, and you go out and the person that was there in the same service you was, somebody asked them how it was and they just changed the subject. Have you ever been in church? I've had people visit and I'd ask them when they came back home that night where they went and what he preached and all that. And they say, oh, it was good. I mean, it was good. Brother so-and-so, he really did a good job. I really enjoyed him. And then when it comes down to telling you what he said, they have a hard time and they just tell you something that he preached A to Z or something like that. It's like eating. You cook a meal, and if everybody enjoys it and one don't, there's nothing wrong with the food, but it's just something wrong with the mouth. In an atmosphere that could totally and forever change you and your life, and you live the room unchanged. I see that too many times. It hurts my heart. We're not supposed to, like Paul on the way to Damascus, he didn't leave the way he went down there. We're not supposed to leave church the way we came down. It's like Haggai. I did a video sermon on that, and it's talking about the bag with holes in it. We go to church, we get a blessing, and before we get out the door, we may be arguing, going home. Rocky people, that's the ones I'm concentrating on in this. They're shallow people. They don't have any root. They have no depth. They're here today and gone tomorrow, and they have a reaction to just about anything. They have an opinion to just about anything, but they have no commitment. No root people will change churches, and that no root person will change opinions in a minute. It doesn't matter much what you give them because they're not going to be anywhere for long. Roots is what makes you stick to something. It connects you to something or to someone. Rocky place people, they're with you when the things are good, and you can't tell them hardly from the rest of the people when things are good. But when things are bad, you can tell that you've got a rocky person. You don't really know what you got in your congregation till trouble hits. Trouble will let you know what you got. And it's you have a whole lot of trouble planting things into people, rocky people that have no root. I thought about the seed. I'm not agriculturally inclined. I didn't grow up in the country. I live in the country now, but I didn't grow up like this. I grew up in a city. We didn't have crops and things like that. But I understand a little bit that you got a seed, and it's got an encasement around it, and the encasement is keeping the fruit that's inside there in. And to get the fruit out, it has to be watered, and the word is that water. Once that water comes, the fruit gets a little bigger, and the encasement gets a little softer. It keeps getting bigger, the fruit, and the encasement keeps getting softer till finally it bursts through. So you ought to be saying, you know you've got a seed within you, and you've got fruit that needs to be produced. You ought to be telling the man of God, and you ought to be telling God, Lord, water me, water me. You ought to welcome that. I'd like to plant a word in people that go home with them, that'll rise up in you from time to time, that stirs you up and it changes you. That's what we really need. Lust for other things and deceitfulness are wonder twins of destruction. Either one of them will kill you. Deceit promises you something that it don't deliver, and riches promise you something that it can't deliver. Pastors are struggling all over of our churches, trying to make something grow in rocky people. God blessed you with a car, you want it. Got you a new car, but you can't hardly worship because you feel like you need to stay home, wash and wax that beautiful car. I preach a sermon that's called Yo-Yo Christians. You ever see yo-yo Christians up here today, down here tomorrow? High, and the lowest low. All things are so bad. All things are so good. If you're a yo-yo Christian, where does God come to find you? Would he know where to come looking for you if you came? Because maybe one time you may be down here, and the next time he comes looking for you down here, and here you are way up here. Would your pastor know where to look for you? I see so many of them people, and I don't know what else to call them but yo-yo Christians. A seed is just a tree in disguise. It takes something to recognize a seed and what it's going to become. It takes somebody to recognize that somebody has seed or potential in them. You know, it takes something to bring it out. I'd like to be that person that can see. Some people don't even know that they got potential. I'd like to be somebody that can point it out and help them develop it. And everything always starts with a seed. The fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit has a seed first. Good seed, good ground. It's only a matter of time till we'll have good harvest. I think it's necessary that we study these scriptures and get as much understanding out of them. They hold the key to who we are in our development. I didn't touch on the other forms of ground. Then maybe that'd be for another time. But I just felt like today, talking to the people that's in on rocky ground, and the people that are yo-yo Christians. I remember a lesson I learned, and I refer back to Brother Jack Kelly a lot. We'd talk on the phone. We didn't have cell phones. I'd call from my house to his house. And some days he was always about up, never complaining, never talking about anybody. And I saw right off the get-go that I was going to have to up my game if we had a conversation that would be fruitful. Uh, if I was down here and he was up here, it was difficult. If he was down here and I was up here, which was never hardly, it would be difficult. But if we came up to the same level, if let each esteem others better than themselves, then we could go eye to eye. I do know and do believe that it's easier to condescend than it is to come up. But I've tried since then um, not to be all over the board. I'd like to be the kind of person if we was in church and somebody come in and said you just lost $10,000 or you just gained $10,000 or whatever the example might be, that there would be a lot of difference in the reaction. I'd just like to be the same. I remember my brother-in-law Harold Priest. He died back in 2008, but I really loved old Harold, and he was talking about a person, and he commented and said they're always the same. And when I heard that comment he made about them, I thought, oh, how wonderful that would be. I would love to be a person that's always the same, and not down here and up here. One time back in 1990, I found out my son had malignant lymphoma, and I was crushed. Me and Melinda both were crushed. And I went to church, and somebody came to see about me, and they was just wondering how I was taking it. And when they came, I tried to carry on. I tried to do like I did before I got the news. And that person left, and I heard that they said, I should have known that Brother Dale would be all right. So may God bless you is my prayer. Till next time.